This podcast is brought to you by Alsbrook Accounting. Alsbrook Accounting is Rochester's entrepreneurial financial service provider. Their local team provides experienced accounting, bookkeeping, tax prep, and advising at extremely affordable rates to help entrepreneurs and businesses of all sizes launch smart and grow fast. Contact Alsbrook Accounting today at 931-841-4937 or head to their website at www.alsbrookaccounting.com for a free consultation to get your business off the ground and on track for growth. Again, that's www.alsbrookaccounting.com. I'm Amanda Leitner, and welcome to Rochester Rising, where I amplify the stories of Rochester entrepreneurs. Welcome to episode 163 of the podcast today. So today on the show, we got to sit down with Vy Thorng. Vy is the owner of Hidden World Vinyl Records, a new to Rochester independent music shop that's located on 2nd Avenue Northwest. Today on the show, we talked to Vy about growing up in Rochester and the Twin Cities area. We talk about how he went from being a cake decorator in Minneapolis to owning his own record store here in Rochester, including a transition in college for a degree in housing and community development. We talk about his musical father, who was a band leader and toured with bands, and how he's growing his music store here in Rochester. For those of you who have not been to Hidden World Vinyl Records yet, it's on 2nd Avenue Northwest. It actually shares a location with Clover Rose and Cassandra Buck. Hidden World Vinyl Records had their grand opening this December, and in addition to their vinyl records, their audio tapes, and other musical items in the store, they also host a variety of events, including open mic nights and live R&B sets, so check them out. So before we launch into the podcast with Vy, just a reminder that you can find our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on YouTube. So check us out wherever you prefer to listen into your podcast content. You can find more stories of entrepreneurs on our website as well at rochesterrising.org, so check us out. All right, so now on to the podcast with Vy and Hidden World Vinyl Records. Well, thanks for being here today, Vy. I appreciate your time and coming down here, and excited to learn more about your journey with Hidden World Vinyl Records. So I usually like to start out to asking people, are you from Rochester? And if not, how did you get here?
I grew up here for a little bit when I was like a preteen, and then I left back to St. Paul.
Okay.
And I just recently came back about 4 years ago.
Okay.
So I would say, off and on.
Okay.
4 years.
But kind of in the area.
Yeah, but I've been away for a very long time.
Okay.
So kind of in the area, in the region. My family lives here. Most of my family lives in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area. And I have some family that live here in town, so that brings me around here.
Okay.
More often, than anything else. It's usually the family.
So did you come back for family? Or?
I came back for a girl.
Okay. That's the typical story.
That's the typical story. You've heard it before. I came back for a girl, yeah. And so that's why we're here,
Usually I hear a lot, and what was my story is, you're expecting to be here for like 3 months, and then it's like a decade before you know it.
Absolutely. I was thinking about, there's a market here. We can do some stuff, and then a couple years go by, and now it's been 4.
Yeah, and now it'll be 10 quickly.
We were together for a very long time, and I commuted for a while to St. Paul, back and forth, just so I can have that kind of like, the traditional job of being there. Here, there wasn't a traditional job for me. I had to find one. Okay.
So I heard you're a cake decorator.
I am.
So how did you get into that? And then how do you go from that to owning your own record store? I'm sure there's many steps in there, right, but how'd you get into cake decorating?
Cake decorating it was a long time ago. I've always been told that I was good at art and drawing and stuff like that. But being a kid from the hood, you just draw. Whatever you get to draw.
You're not thinking about
art
cakes.
School or cakes or how to make a living off it.
Yeah.
It would never occur to me. And then I got fired from this one job, and a succession of other jobs. And then finally there's, like I worked at this one place in Minneapolis. It was really nice. And then I started at the bottom to start, doing stuff, the basics, kind of like a sushi rice guy. That's for 3 years. I did the cake thing for a year, before I even got to draw on anything.
Okay.
And they were really, really kind of adamant about me learning everything first, the right way. And so I spent a year just icing cakes, learning how to make stuff. And then the second year was flowers, and third year was drawings and like more technical piping and sculpting, and we went to competitions, and we won awards, and it was great. And then I quit because I'm young.
Yeah, you got to try the next thing.
Yeah, it was like the late '90s,
Yeah.
very late '90s, early 2000s, and so I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna go to Alaska.
So you went to Alaska?
Yeah, I went to Alaska for many, many years, and then kind of just traveled and did a lot of different things. And the whole time, the cake decorating thing was always there for me. I could always just go back to do it because I got a really good foundation for it.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It was it seems like intensive learning process.
It was fantastic. It was my favorite memory, was working with those folks in Minneapolis. And then I got to work at my own little shop. They gave me my own little shop in downtown. I turned it down because I wanted to go to college. So I went to college, and I went to college for a very different thing. I went to college for housing and community development.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Totally different because I felt like that was more, like oriented towards like service and nonprofits. So I felt like after 9/11, I felt like I was making useless shit for useless people. That's how I felt. I mean, I had to get it off my chest. That's how I felt. I was I was weighted down with all this, like, it was like a moral conundrum, I was working like near Edina where everybody's like so inoculated against everything else. And there I was, young guy, just making stuff. It's very beautiful, but it didn't matter to me,
Yeah, I think that the beauty of it, though, has, impact on people, but I feel the same way sometimes, not now necessarily, but even just, this is a silly example, but even like looking through social media. And I had a couple weeks where I had taken Facebook off my phone recently, and I had to put it back on, mainly for business.
For business.
And I really wish I didn't have to, because I'd be looking through my Facebook feed, and it would be some really like devastating story, like human impact story. And then the next thing would be like, and no offense to people who love this, but like 6 ways to do your hair. And it's like, are
no
we
connection.
Serious here?
They're all very so disparate that it just becomes like just a mismatch of information that means nothing.
Yeah.
Trivial. Yeah, that's kind of
trivial. That was
just
how
trivial.
Yeah. And it was just very, like disconcerting. Like you said, you look at this one thing and then you look at the next thing, and maybe it's an issue of working on the algorithm more, but like it was not.
Right.
It was not a seamless experience, and it makes you think like, does anyone care about like hair color trends? Like,
right, but the things matter to people for a reason.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Whether it's
whether you care about it or you agree with it or not.
Yeah,
it'll always be there. That's a human trait.
Yeah,
to have your own thing.
I hear you though, wanting to, feel like you're making an impact. But I think we all are in one way or the other, even if it's just for ourselves, and being a happier, better person in the world. That does a lot too.
Well, I grew up in a kind of very pretty rough, I'm pretty rough, and I wanted to get away from rough. I wanted to get a little bit more, like some sort of eloquence, just some sort of places that can teach me to be more of like a part of the world instead of just a heel in the world. So when I went to college, the first day I walked out of that U of M admissions place, I was like, wow, this is where I'm going to be working now in the world. Not, within the world where I'm hidden somewhere. I actually be a part of this, It didn't quite work out that way, but, I kind of graduated in, I went to school later, so I graduated in, like, the worst economic disaster we've ever had since the Depression.
Me too.
Right, you too, right? And it was just like, okay, but I took it in stride because I'm an adult. I got older, and I kind of went along with it and went back to heavy industries and started working in heavy industries and where I was used to, and you make do,
Yeah, I think those are the survivors, the people who make do and just look for the opportunities.
Sure. Wherever you can get it.
Yeah. So you have your record store now. So what's your history with music? Why is that a passion of yours?
Well, my father was a musician. He was the only one in our family that's a musician. Everybody else are karaoke singers, and they're terrible. They do it. They do it every weekend, But my father was an actual musician. He played a lot of instruments, and he had a touring band. It was like a bunch of hippies who played like ethnic instruments.
Okay.
And he was the Cambodian man who did the singing and the drumming and stuff like that. But he was the band leader, and they toured around Kansas City, Chicago, Omaha.
Nice.
Places like they went as far down as Florida and as east as Boston.
Okay.
And then, and he was also a community leader and stuff like that. But his musicianship, when I was growing up, was just like a weird thing that he did. It was cool, but again, it's not that cool when you're in the hood. You like rap, you like metal, you like punk.
And Dad's playing hippie music.
Playing hippie music, you're like, eh. But then, like, as I got a little bit, older into music, and I wanted to expand more in music, I found out that his stuff was actually really cool. And I found his tapes, and I was really, really into music. I went to shows voraciously, like a lot. I went to every show I can go to that's free or cheap, or $5, or in a basement, or in an attic. I didn't care, And I listened to music really loud. I have really low hearing in this side. I was always so excited to see like a random show. I like surprises. For some reason, that's for me like surprises in music, the arc of a song.
Okay.
Those things always work for me, no matter what. It doesn't end. It doesn't stop, and I look for that in everything. And just even the recent show I had at my shop we were at, I didn't know what the band was. I didn't care. He's like, check out my YouTube videos. Like, nope.
Just come in.
I don't want to. I don't know you. You sound great. Somebody said you were great. Come on in. And he was great. And that's kind of that's how I got into music, was always that curiosity. It was always curiosity. It was never anything else. I didn't want to be a musician because I'm terrible at, playing music. I've tried so many times. I've been in bands, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get the thing right. I can't dance. I can't dance and I can't sing. And so what do? You just enjoy it.
It's good to know your skills.
Yeah, it's just good to know your skills. Keep with the cake decorating, man. Listen to records.
But you kind of fueled that passion and funneled that love for music with your record store. So what kind of sparked you to say, this is what I need to do. I'm going to open a brick and mortar record store here in Rochester.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I have some friends here that have been around for a while doing the record store stuff. And I've met everyone who does records in town. I've gone to all the shows and everything like that. And I have a handful of my own stuff. Even though I moved around a dozen times, I always had a crate of my favorites, And I miss them dearly. They're gone now, but I miss them dearly. And so what I did was I ended up helping my friend out at the Castle, at the record shop there. I worked there once a week on Thursdays, so I got the whole place to myself. I just played whatever I wanted. It was super fun, and we had great records there. And I never thought of opening a record shop. I never want to be a shopkeeper. I don't want to be an entrepreneur. I don't want to be a businessman. I have no idea what any of this stuff means. I was telling you, I was like, and then I had this space open up, and I was thinking, what if we did something different from the Castle, but similar, where we can piggyback off each other? Because it's a small community. We're friends. I'm not competition with anyone in town. We have different stuff.
Yeah.
Completely different stuff.
So, yeah.
And I'm working even harder to be more different, not to be in competition, just because we want variety in this town. So what happened was, when I built this thing, I didn't have that many records. I started off with like 1,000, just junk, just to fill in the spaces. I knew I'd get them somewhere, because the records live in the world. You don't just buy them. You don't go somewhere and just buy them. Here you go, I got a bunch of records. You have to go and find them. They're in somebody's house. They're in somebody's collection. Somebody's dying, and they're going to have to put something somewhere. They're at the library. They're at thrift stores. They're online, Yeah. They're in other cities. They're in other states, So I knew that was going to be the hard part, but I didn't know how hard it was going to be. So what I did was I just started building. So I started in August. I started leasing the place in August. So just built, and I had all these things in mind and no template. I knew what a record store looked like. I've been to 1,000 of them. They're all lovely, but I wanted something for myself, something simpler, something kind of like newer, and also a little bit more flexible and lean. Very lean, because, like the budget's really small. All the furniture, all the stuff I got in there, it came to like maybe under $500. And the wood, I did it all myself over the weekends, and I didn't have any help because I didn't want any help. I didn't know what anybody would do. They can paint the wall, but as far as thinking things up, like building all the things, I didn't know. I wouldn't know. So people would just stand there and look at me like, I don't know what to do. Like, go paint a wall, or mop or whatever. And so that's kind of how that went. And then I didn't have, like I said, I didn't have the inventory until one day I've been looking for inventory guys in town. I knew a couple of them, and they're very, very, what's the word? Record people are very fickle.
Okay.
Or not fickle. What's the word? When they keep things very close.
Oh, yeah, protective, I guess.
Protective.
Yeah.
I'm protective.
I could see how that would be if there's only so many, and it's just so hard to get them in the first place.
They are very hard to get them, and there's so many, and you can't really always pick and choose with if it's a monetary thing. If you have only so much, like say if you have $1,000, you can probably only get about 200 records.
Really?
Yeah, unless you want crappy ones, you can get a million of them. But why own a record store with crappy records?
Well, you got to sell them.
You got to sell them, yeah. And so to get the good stuff, you have to find the right people who already have collections. So it was a matter of piecing together collections. And one day, I was like talking to Cassandra, my neighbor. She has the art shop, and she was ready to open. And I'm like, I got these. I just got them. They're okay. They're not good. They're just placeholders right now for what my thing's going to look like. And she's like, I believe in you, man. And I was like, I don't know what that means. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. So a couple days later, Halloween, I was at a party out in the woods or some sea cap. And I meet this young guy, and I was like, hey, I got a record shop. You know anybody that's got records? He's like, I got records. I'm like, how do you have records? You're 27 years old. And then I was drunk. We were having fun, and then I didn't really believe him.
Right. I probably wouldn't either.
I didn't believe him. I was like, show up the next day. He shows up the next day with the first few crates, and they were phenomenal.
Oh, wow.
And we had a record shop.
Nice.
Yeah. And he's been buying from me ever since.
Random encounter.
It was super random, and he's been buying from me ever since, and he's lovely, and he's very smart. He's very good at what he does. He's singular in thought.
See, I would not believe that someone that I met in the woods
I know,
drinking
right?
would be like for real.
I didn't either. He didn't look like the fitting type. He didn't match the description of like the record guy.
A record person.
But then when he came in, he was like, look at these, man. I was like, that's amazing. The first few hundred he brought were incredible, and then we've been bringing thousands ever since.
I was going to say, the first time I was at your store was during your grand opening, and was that December? I couldn't quite remember.
Yeah, December 13th.
December, okay.
But we did a Friday the 13th thing. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, I see. That didn't even
I didn't either. It was like, I don't do a lot of promos. It's like Cassandra was doing the promo, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. I kind of go along with what people do when they do events and stuff like that, because I like doing events, but I don't really like to push myself too far out there.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to let other people's ideas come in, because sometimes there's some surprising little nuggets that come in. But there was a lot. You had a lot of record and a huge variety from like the 50s to common day. Yeah. So just like a huge variety. So it's super exciting. Like you were saying too, it's very different from, the collective, the castle, what they have there. And yeah, there's a place for everything. And
there is. It's a big enough market. We could have another record store here.
It's just super fun. Yeah. I just got into records recently, and I would say my favorite to listen to is like 1960s.
Oh yeah.
'Cause that's like what I grew up on, and that feels normal. To me, like listening.
There was a lot going on in the 60s music. God. It's so much. You would die over just 2 years of it.
Yeah.
What's available.
It's crazy. So like you were saying, people have these records like in their basement and stuff. Everywhere. So we were talking about it over Christmas, and my parents were like, oh, we got to go find what we have. I'm like, we're going to get some like old school Patsy Cline.
Yeah.
And who knows, Johnny Mathis and the Temptations.
You never know. I mean, like what happens with popular records is there's so many of them. And so you get what you get, but sometimes somewhere somebody amassed a collection, and I never want somebody in dire straits bring them to me. That would not be cool. I would feel bad about it. I'd have to buy it if they needed the money, but I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it. I recommend somebody who has doubles, triples, or extras that they didn't think about. I know people like that.
Yeah, I never thought about, the market. There's just so many out there, and there are never going to be more of those. The older
Right.
especially the older ones.
Right. Well, they repress them when it's not the same. Like we were talking about, like the originals to me are a little bit special just because of just the way that they were made, and like how the equipment that they made them sound differently. It sounds weird, but here's a good example, right? So we have a lot of equipment at the shop right now that we're using over different types of receivers and players and speakers. So we tried the first one out. The first one was amazing. It's from 1972, the whole bit. And it's just warm, deep, basses are heavy, everything is really good. It just hits it every time we play a record, it's like, yes, this is awesome, And then it goes out because it's old, the needle drops off because we're bumping it too hard, bumping bass too hard, pull the needle off of the freaking machine,
Yeah.
So there we go. We put that away, put another player on, and we put a really expensive one on, digital, beautiful Marantz from like I don't know. I'm not a stereo guy. I like them. I can never afford them. So I had like just the good one, not the best one. This was the best one. Put it in there, a little flat. But we try to reconcile that. We're like, this is what people love. This is the audiophile dream. This is the thing that they want. So we spent a week with it, playing everything, and we were trying to just like get into it. We had to actually get drunk one night. Just like, hey, is this like a party now? It's just fun. Finally, I was like, the other day I went in there, James, switch it out. Put that other one. Put that 72, the other 72 in there. Changes everything. Put it back on. It was like perfect. It was like back to normal.
Yeah.
The warmth and the depth was back. And same with the records. The original recording, it was there. And the new ones are, some of them, when they're pressed in a different kind of master, it almost sounds like a CD on vinyl.
It does. Like,
it's
I want to
literally
hear
what they
that
call
fuzz
sometimes
on it.
Yeah.
I want to hear the fuzz on the record, and you don't hear it on the newer pressed recordings. You're absolutely right. So it's that nostalgia too. So, when people are coming into the store, what kind of experience do you want them to have there? And I see you're doing a whole bunch of events too. So you're doing, like you said, when you had a band come in, and you're doing like an R&B or hip hop.
Yeah, we're gonna
night
do it.
coming up.
We had a show last week. It was like I let Team Martyrsville, this kid that he's not a kid. Sorry, he's 27 years old. This gentleman come in. He met me when we first started opening the shop. I asked him to come in and look at the Cassandra's place to see if he wanted to rent it. Didn't work out. Never saw him again, and he came back a few weeks later, or a month later, and said, "Hey, can I do a thing?" I was like, "Of course you can. Why not? Do what you want to do." And he said, "Open mic." I was like, open mic's pretty common. Let's do it differently. We'll call it an open mic, but let's do it a certain way where we have more of these rappers in town show up and do their thing, because I want to hear that. I've seen the guy with the guitar. I've seen the whatever. I don't have any problems with that. Neo covers are fantastic, but I want to see somebody like do something for themselves and from a different demographic. Like I'm used to. I've been all over town. I haven't seen one single rap show that I liked.
I have.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I haven't been invited because I'm not in. Again, I'm not in. So I'm looking for actually not just diversity. I'm looking for just choices.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm looking for
Something
choices. So to go back to what you were saying, and when people come in for the experience, I want them to make their own experience. Okay. It's literally just four walls with a bunch of stuff on the walls. I want to keep it a vinyl shop for a reason, because like with the vinyl shop, you can't go anywhere else. You can't look at anything else. It's literally everywhere you look. Like the other day when I was there, it's like I literally jam-packed this thing with all just vinyl. The seat next to me had them, The thing I had them, because that's where I can only put them. The back is full, and it will remain full, and because we're going to get more, and they have to go somewhere. And they can't be outside. They can't be in storage in another place, because what's the point of having a place when you don't have it there?
Right.
So whenever customers come in, they see the choices. It can be overwhelming, but if you spend a little time and dig, that is an activity. That's real activity.
Yeah, I think I spent it was pretty close to an hour at opening night, just looking through everything, and then I was like, there's dust everywhere. Yeah. But it was awesome.
I tend to leave people alone, because when you're left alone, you're kind of like on your own to make your own decisions about what you want to do.
And you want to look
at
everything.
You don't need to be pointing in a direction. You know what records are.
Right.
You know what they sound like. You know what those bands are. And if you're unfamiliar with a band, you look at your phone.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, you don't need that jerk behind the counter anymore to tell you like what's cool and what's not. You know,
Yeah.
you can make up your own mind. You can get anything you want. So the choices are all there. So you make up your own adventure about what you want to do, what this space is for. It's not innovative. It's literally just a shop. You know, there's no innovation going on. I think my only innovation is I step back. You know what I mean? Not in like a hands-off way. I'm willing to help in any way, or you know, have some sort of like conversation about anything. Very approachable, but stepping back meaning we're taking that kind of like vibe off of that snotty bullshit that was going on when I was a kid. I hated those guys. I didn't like any of them. I like their music. I like their stuff. I couldn't stand that attitude.
So you just come in and be,
yeah,
basically.
Yeah. I didn't like that. I never want to be part of that stuff. You know, when I was working in the castle, I was by myself, so it was great. Got to just be, you know, and just talk to people from all over, and it was really fun. And this place is beautiful. Kind of want to bring that in there too. Same thing, you know.
Mm-hmm. So like you said, you opened or found this location in August this year, and I know where it is, but to describe it, so it's by like North Star and
right.
Gray Duck, like that
So
area.
if you're going north on Broadway, to your right, that'd be that giant factory of ice cream factory, Kemp's factory. You can't miss it. Before you hit Taco Bell, which everybody goes to.
Yes.
On the left, there's a paint store and the North Star. You take a left in the paint store. I forgot what street that is. It's got to be Second.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm bad with streets. You know, like
I can tell you how to get there. But
yeah. I can tell you. So it's 519 Second Avenue, Northwest.
Okay.
So you take a left, and it's 2 blocks past Cheap Charlie's and the North Star, and you'll be at Collins Feed and Seed is on our left, and we're in the middle of the block on the right.
Like you said, you're kind of split, or maybe it's not exactly split, but kind of sharing a building with Cassandra, with Clover and Rose.
Yep.
So how did you guys did you know each other beforehand? And is that like, how does that work out, having a business next to you?
Well, it's a small town. So I remember going to Forager for Forager Fest years back before even the shop, you know, a few years ago, and I was like walking around, you know, there's a lot of art stuff going on in town, you know, like, like shiplap and all this stuff, and a lot of craft. It's more craft, more folk art, things like that. And I was walking around having fun, and I saw Cassandra's stuff. I'm like, that's cool. That's fantastic. You know, like she had what I like. You know, like it was abstract. It was colorful, and it had to me it had like that. You know, I went to art school too, so I was like, I had that kind of art school feel that I miss, you know, from years back, and I haven't done art for so long, you know, so I was like, that's cool. And I bought some stuff for my kids, you know, and I was telling her, I was like, you make some prints, you know, why do you have the originals all right here, you know? So I was giving her like this guff, you know, and she's like, yeah, you're right, I should make some prints, you know. I was like, I love it, they're beautiful, and so I started seeing her around the vending, you know, and her stuff was in the Forager when they opened up the Forager for the inside. And I was like, cool. So Cassandra is logged away, you know?
Yeah.
And so when I was looking for clients to come in next to me to fill out the space so we can share the burden and stuff like that, she was like the third one. And right away when I was like, you're the only one I want here. Your stuff is awesome. Like, I really believe in what she does, you know? Like, I really do, because I don't really see a lot of that. Mm-hmm. I don't really see a lot of that strength. You know, like, her stuff is really kind of like genuine and current. You know, it's current, genuine, but it's also like, I see her making it. And that means a lot to me, you know. Like, I only bug her if she wants a beer. Leave her alone, you know. I got my little thing over there, and she's got her thing, and I think it's great. You know, it's perfect. I got to make her sign for my little vinyl printer. That's one of the main contributions I did, was doing that, you know. And
nice. But it has to be nice to have, like, a business owner kind of at the beginning, you know, at the same stage of development as you, to kind of just camaraderie.
Right. Well, she's done a bunch of things before, you know, and she's had Gallery 24, and she was.
Oh, that's right. I always forget about that.
She's at Gallery 24, and there was like other collective thing that she'd done here. I've been to, and she ran like some other thing that when I first came into town, she's already been in the art community.
Yeah.
But she's very humble. She would not brag about that. She wouldn't be telling me, like, she wouldn't be sitting there going, yeah, I've done all this.
That's
and this.
probably why I forget, because she never says it.
Yeah, she never says it because she's busy working and raising children and being herself.
She's a busy lady.
So I'm very fortunate to have her, and I try to keep I try to get out of her way. Because we have a very different business. Like very different business.
That's being a good neighbor.
Yeah, being a good neighbor.
Stay out of each other's way, but be helpful.
I don't think our business has anything to do with art. It's just rock and roll and being crazy, as loud as possible. Hers is being as quiet and as patient and as, calm as possible. But it works.
So how are you, so you have the retail space now, like how are you learning the skills to run the business? What's that kind of journey been like for you?
Ooh, bumbling.
That's what all of ours is like, to be honest.
Bumbling and humbling. I can't really go beyond, collecting and sharing and selling. I have a hard time selling because some of the stuff I love so much, sometimes I put it away. So as far as monetary stuff goes, I'm terrible. As far as business goes, I was telling you, I'm very new and I haven't done taxes yet. So I'm worried about that. I'm going to get somebody to do that for me. I'm going to learn QuickBooks and all that stuff. I use Square, good analytics on the Square. It's perfect. I can work off that. And, for me, like the first business bit that I'm going to do, besides the LLC and all that stuff, that's pretty easy. That stuff's easy. It's the taxes.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's gonna be that big of a deal because we don't make that much money. It's not a full-time, full-on gig right now. It's probably called like a side hobby in the tax world. And but as far as like the events and stuff goes, those are all just like in store. There's no like charging or nothing that's gonna run into like some sort of other territory. But I've been getting advice from people that are been in business. I talked to this lady, Nancy. She's been in business for 30 years. She came in and talked to me for like an hour and a half. We just talked about business. And I was just, any more advice? Keep it coming, Keep it coming. Here's a beer. And that's kind of how I learned. I learned by listening and probably failing, and keep on doing it.
I think you have to fail to learn. That's the important part, and we all try and hide from it.
Right. That's like our modern paradox. Is like we have to fail in order to learn something. Because there's so much to do. There's so much to learn. Before that, we were like, we had 3 channels. We pick this one, you go there. It's not like that anymore. Yeah. You can do whatever you want within a certain limit of understanding and knowledge. You can't be everything. I can't be a business person and also a good steward of the shop. I want to be a good steward of the shop more than I want to be a business person. I can have somebody do the taxes. You know what I mean?
That's the nice part is you can always hire those people on.
Hire somebody, hire a bookkeeper or whatever. When there's enough, I have a full-time job. So that's where the funds will go, and that's how my brain works. How do I get more records into my shop so it's awesome? Because if the record doesn't have awesome records, I have no shop. I have nobody to do books. Right. What's the point of somebody doing books when there's no records to be had? Yeah. To share, right? Yeah. So that's circular thinking in my mind, but like I don't know if that's called business.
Oh, no, it is. I mean, it's all, having something that somebody wants, and if you're not getting what they want, then there's no need for any of it.
There's no point. Yeah. There's no point.
So how are you balancing? So like you were saying, you have a full-time job and you have the record store. How do you balance all of that?
I'm pretty lucky I have James. James from New York. God bless him, He's he was one of my first customers. I wasn't even open yet. He came in. Cassandra let him in because she was in her studio, and I wasn't even there. I was somewhere else. Yeah, and he came in. He walks in. He's just fresh from New York. He's from Syracuse. He's like, yeah, I like this place. I want this place to succeed. This place is awesome, And he found me on Craigslist. I put my ad on Craigslist. Like, yeah, I'm looking for people to come in and like kind of sell me records and stuff. Okay. And he's one of the ones that came in to look at it, and he's like, yeah, I don't live very far away, And so. So I was running my shop at first in the early stages in November, like once or twice a week. Like after my full-time gig, I go there until 7. I go home to my family, And it was very sporadic, and I didn't make any money really, or didn't make any new clients. But like I had a handful of people that were really pulling for me and doing stuff. And then one day, we were getting. Weekends are good because I'm there all the time. I have my friends there, and we're doing really good. Weekends are nice, but what about weekdays? And so James James comes in on a weekend. He goes, "Hey, you need anybody to help you?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'll volunteer. I'm not doing anything during the day." I was like, "How are you not doing anything?" "Well, my kids are grown. My wife is doing really well, and I'm kind of new here, and I want to meet people. I'll volunteer for you." I was like, "Yes." And so he's been doing it for a few weeks now. I would say almost a month. So he goes in at 1:00 on Tuesday through Friday until I get there. And sometimes I cut out from Dobby's at 4. And at 5 when it's late, and I just get there and we, recap for the day and talk about stuff. And he's got his jacket on, and there's no Minnesota goodbyes from New Yorkers.
He just walks out.
He's
the
like,
door.
"See ya, thank you."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I want to tell you something." It's like, "This is gone, that's gone. You guys sold this thing." He's like, "All right, see ya. I'm gonna go home with my wife." And I love that about him. And he, so I kind of get out of his way as well. I don't micromanage him at all. I've never actually talked to him during the day. I've never actually texted him during the day.
Thing.
He does his thing. I gave him a square, on his own for his own account. I made him an administrative account, and he gets paid in records. And he's got some pretty amazing ones from us.
So that was just a nice thing that kind of fell into your lap, like the kid with the records.
Right, but he's worked in record stores and stuff. He's worked in mini record stores. Actually, he's one of the famous ones he worked at this is legend now, I believe, that he was in the Central Florida record shop that was the place where they launched Marilyn Manson's career back in the day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That has to be an awesome story.
Yeah, I believe him because I actually at the times that we hang out when we have time. He showed me these videos of him in these bands, these kind of like heavier bands and stuff like that. Florida's known for it, And then in Portland, his son's in a band over there, and so he comes from a very musical background. And he also sold his record a few years ago, and he's very sad about it as well, like I am. And so his music acumen is sealed, But he's always wanting to learn because he wants to learn jazz now.
Cool.
He doesn't know much about jazz.
I feel like, for a lot of us to be successful, we have that one person who just helps us out so much. And
Absolutely.
They're so needed. Like, everyone gets help from somebody,
Yeah.
And it can be completely unexpected, but it's like so necessary.
Right, yeah.
Otherwise, you're like sinking.
Yeah, you're sinking. Doing it by yourself, you're sinking. There's too much weight of everything that you can't think about all the time.
Yeah, that's something I firmly believe in. Everybody has somebody who helps them, get to the next stage.
And if you don't find one,
it's really hard then. It's really hard.
Yeah, if you don't have one, find one. Somewhere, somehow.
Yeah. And the trusting part.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just a bunch of records, man. I'm not worried about, stealing. There's no surveillance in my shop. I don't believe in it. If you're going to steal from a record shop, good luck selling that shit online.
Yeah.
I have a hard time selling it online.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
All right. Well, I have a few final questions to take us to the end here that I've been asking everybody this year. So you got them as well.
Okay.
So what are you reading or listening to right now?
Oh, wow. Reading. It's funny. I just went to the library yesterday. I want to learn more about like bop from like the 40s and the 50s. So I have a book called Jazz, Black Music, and Drugs. And I just kind of skimmed through. I'm excited about reading it. And then there's another one I just kind of finished. It was like an actual business book.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm going to read a business book. I looked into it. It's, what's it called? Running Lean.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense, right?
Yes.
Running Lean.
The Lean Startup.
Yeah, the Lean Startup. Yeah, that one. I don't know. It looked kind of like, it looks interesting, but it might just be a quick thing,
I feel like you're going to get more value out of the
from the jazz.
The bop.
Yeah. I actually read a lot of record collectors books just for research. That's my research. There are so many genres that I don't know that I really and I also want to research stuff for the region. I don't want to just do something for like the internet or whatever. It's easy to just say, oh, I'm going to get this fancy jazz record. It's going to cost $1 million. It's going to save the store. But what about the people who are here? Who wants it? Right. Can I get something more accessible, like own it Coleman instead of like, like a Mingus at Monterey? It's like $1,000. Like, what can I get like a $15 record?
Yeah.
For somebody that wants it here and to turn them on to it,
Yeah, and that's a key business thing. If
Exactly.
there's no market and you can't sell it to anyone here, then why even bother getting it?
Why bother having a door open? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's where it starts too. And we're going to keep it kind of like grounded in retail space rather than on the internet. But we'll have to supplement it. And as far as listening to,
Records.
right. Well, the other day I had this retrospective on. It was on the internet. It was in all formats. We're not against anything. And I was sent a lot of Spotify stuff. And I spent a day listening to new albums from 2019 that I haven't heard. Blew me away. I played everything. It was like 8 hours of brand new 2019 music, and I loved it all. There was post-hardcore, psychedelic rap, ballad. It was like Angel Olsen was really kind of big in that day. I kept on playing her, and there's some Philadelphia stuff that was amazing, and some grime from the UK that was really good. Garage, and so it was, I can go on. It was
cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of music, and today we're gonna be playing something totally different. And it wasn't records. I didn't play records on last Saturday, but I play records every day. Every day.
So what's your favorite spot to be at in Rochester? And I feel like I already know the answer to this, but...
My favorite spot to be at in Rochester... That's funny. That's a good question.
And home is a good answer, too.
Home is great. I like the Restore.
Okay.
It's actually the geek and the geeky builder wannabe in me that likes going there. It's like my treasure place. It's where I find the lumber and the weird accessories that I need for what I need to do, but I have to place it. Just see the stuff and I gotta place it somewhere or else I don't buy it.
Do you have one key thing you wish you'd done differently so far? It's been so short though.
Yeah, it's been so short.
It's only been a couple months.
Well, I mean, what do they say? Like if you're messing up all the time and you do, and you keep on thinking about that mess up and how you fix that mess up, that's how you keep on growing and learning, right? I've learned to walk away from a lot of things and say no to a lot of things. I wasn't good at saying no before, because I don't think I was a people pleaser. I think I'm afraid of people.
You're non-confrontational.
Yeah, I mean, I'm non-confrontational. I don't like to fight. I don't like to argue. I just end up losing because I end up yelling and wanting to walk away and de-escalate at a point where it's probably not a good idea what I'm doing. So what I do is I kind of breathe, be quiet, and by learning to just listen, and listen and let people do what they do. And I think that goes a very, very long ways.
Yeah.
More so than trying to get information or trying to reference things, or whatever. It's just listen, Everybody's got something to contribute. Sometimes they'll piss you off and you'll get the wrong information, and that's when you kind of switch it off. It's that's crap. That's crap. No. And when that time comes, when you say it right, when you say no right, people get you.
Totally agree with that.
Right? When you say no in the right way, they'll get you.
Yeah, and in a constructive way.
In a constructive way, yeah. In a polite, in manners. Manners mean a lot.
Yes, they do. Well, that was my final question for you. I'll ask you for any final thoughts, if you have them, and where people can find you in person or on the web.
Okay, yeah. Well, I really love this space. This is very cool. What you guys are doing here reminds me of what I would like to do in the future. My thoughts was to run the thing for a while and move to a more of a visible location in the future when we can do it. And this is the future of Rochester. This kind of stuff. This didn't exist a long time ago when I was a kid.
No.
I wouldn't know, but still, we didn't have access to any of this stuff. But now that I see that this is going on, it makes the town bigger and broad, instead of just a little prairie, little dugout that we have in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I like this. It's actually making me more connected to Rochester. And I like that. I like seeing what you guys are doing. I like meeting new people that I've never met before, because I'm actually literally a stranger in this town. And if people want to find me, I'm always at the Dalby's,
okay.
9 to 5. I'm in the back. You can always come say hi. My name is V, and people usually do. I was more in the front, greeting, talking to people and customers back in the day when I first started there, because we're turning the place around and kind of making it more modern, streamlined, and more customer friendly. And now I'm done with that. We're moving back. I'm scaling back my role there, and letting people, the training is over. People are doing their thing, and so now people can always poke their head back and say hi.
Are you in the south one, or?
I'm in the main one
main
on
Okay,
Civic Center Drive, 5th place, right next to across the street from another bakery. Hi, V.
Yeah. I live right by the south one, actually.
The brand new
Yeah.
one. Yeah, they just
Yeah.
opened that one. I've been there twice.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, huh?
It is.
Yeah,
yes.
it's really nice.
I almost made a hard right yesterday to get
Yeah.
a bacon donut.
I don't go to donut shops or bakeries or coffee shops because I get them all for free.
Yeah.
And I'm cheap. And also, like, I'm not really a sweets guy. Funny.
Yeah. That's a funny profession you've chosen.
I know, right? It's
probably good, though.
It is good. And you can't eat records.
No.
So you can find me there. And then, and in the evening and the weekends, I'm at Hidden World Vinyl Records, 519 2nd Avenue Northwest.
Well, thanks so much for your time and doing this today. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Amanda. I'm glad we got to do this.
Thanks to V for taking time to chat with us today and share his journey at Hidden World Vinyl Records. So again, you can find them at 519 2nd Avenue Northwest, and they're on Facebook and Instagram as well. So check them out. So we're always looking for great stories of Rochester entrepreneurs to share on the podcast. So if you know of a Rochester entrepreneur with a great story, let us know and send us an email at rochesterrising@gmail.com. The best way to stay up to date with our latest podcasts and our other article and video content is, of course, to subscribe to the podcast. But we also have a weekly newsletter that comes out on Sunday morning that has all of our stories on Rochester Rising for the week, as well as other events and things going on in the Rochester community. So check it out. It's through our kind of sister organization, Collider, the nonprofit that we're a part of. So sign up, check it out, keep up to date with what's going on in the entrepreneurial community. That's a wrap for the podcast today. Thanks for listening in. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so that you never miss a story of entrepreneurship and innovation coming out of Rochester, Minnesota. And we will see you here again next Wednesday with a brand new episode.